We'll find out the score in 2 minutes. It is the game number 2. In the bottom right, we have Elazer. In the top left, it is uThermal. So another game 2, jumping into it. Don't know what happened in game 1. Did not see even the tail end of it. But definitely want to catch a uThermal game because defeating Max Packs is pretty impressive. Now, as far as matchups that I would believe uThermal has a stronger chance in, it would go something like TVT, TVP, TvZ. Maybe TVP, TVT, TvZ. But like the point is TvZ is last, right? Because it's such a mechanical matchup. The amount of trickery, the amount of ways that you can throw each other off as the races you are, I think is a little more limited. So if a Protoss really gets thrown off in the early game, it feels just more difficult for them to come back. The way that they have the, the way that they recover can be difficult, basically, compared to a Terran player with mules or a Zerg player with a really sharp instinct and good scouting who can determine, you know, if I use all my larvae for drones or all my larvae for army or something in the middle. Protoss just doesn't really have that much. I'm not saying this is an imbalance or this is the reason Protoss can't win shit or anything like that. I think it's just the way that it is. Protoss has other things, other strengths, right? But as far as recovering from an early game twist, I think that is extraordinarily difficult for Protoss. Whereas, yeah, again, Terran and Zerg, it's a little bit different. Plus, we don't have that much happening in the early game. If we do have a 2-Rax, you know, the most famous example of something cheeky in the early game for a TvZ, we very often see choices made by both Terran and Zerg to recover from that. So a Terran can kind of fail in a 2-Rax, sneak in 3cc, and with proper scouting, accommodate for any attempted finale move, right? Finishing move from the Zerg player. I think I'm going to build Roach, send him across the map, and I'll win. Terran barely gets a Banshee out, right? And ditto for the Zerg player, if they do take damage from the 2-Rax, and the Terran player does a 2-base follow-up, if they're really tight, they can buy time with the lings that they did make in trying to defend the 2-Rax. They can make a round of drones, you know, 3 round of drones for like the battle cruiser shows up, whatever the hell it is. I feel like it really is a matchup that pushes itself towards the mid game, certainly. And then maybe even into the late game, depending on the map that we're on. So, uThermal probably did a couple of things versus Max Packs that really was quite unique and quite made for a very unique game at the very least, because Max Packs was also probably doing something aggressive as well, and the way that the Terrans and Protoss combat each other when they're both cheesing is often just, you know, yeah, I don't know who's gonna win. It's a crapshoot, right? But TvZ, a little more steady. We have uThermal going for a typical 2-base setup with Hellions on the way. Elazer grabbing his 3rd base, allowing Neo-Humanity into the map pool, by the way, which is very interesting. The vetoes, right, that Elazer, I would say, you know, Elazer let this through, as he could have vetoed it, so he seems like he's okay on this map. uThermal going actually for a Hellbat attack, Hellbat Marauder, so he wants to be able to capture a couple of these queens being 2 forward, and then get another set of queens, and then get another set of queens, something like that. And that's how that snowballs. Still don't know what the score is, by the way. I was watching Steadfast stream, hoping that they'd put the score on, and they didn't. So, yeah. Anyways. Maybe one of these guys is streaming. I'd really like to know before we see the execution of the Hellbat attack, but okay, whatever. All right, the Hellbat attack is underway. Here it is. There it is. Actually, the armory is not quite done, so either uThermal messed up his build a little bit, or he did something that made it attack a little bit sooner, hoping that the faster attack would make up for the lack of Hellbats. It might. I mean, it hasn't, but I could see how it might. The point is that if the queens all get together against the Hellbat attack, that's usually the sign that the Zerg player is going to be okay. If the queens are disjointed, if they're not prepared, if they're not able to focus fire, and, you know, concave and then focus fire, I should say, then that's when the Zerg is in trouble. So even though this is killing queens, the queens have done their job. So that's kind of unfortunate. Again, I don't know if this is okay. Yeah, so I don't know if it was a 2-0 or not, but that's a Hellbat Ellen for you. You know, there are some times where we see an attack like that work out just enough that the Terran player says, you know what, okay, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to play this game out. But uThermal has always been a player who cuts his losses faster than others, first of all. And then second of all, I think, yeah, I just recognized that really didn't do a whole lot. And he probably wasn't playing at the top of his game. So I don't know if that was a 2-0 or not. I don't know. But I could have sworn... Yeah, that actually might have been game 1. I just assumed it was game 2 because they had been up against each other for a while. But that might have been actually game 1. All right. We catch up with chat now. If it was game 1, then I apologize for not making bets happen. Still looking at 2 races for Stormgate. It's basically guaranteed they'll have more than 2. I would say even without any knowledge that I have, because this is not based off of any knowledge that I have, which is something that someone would know would say. Like, they have to have 3. Having a 2-race RTS sounds like just stupid, honestly. It sounds stupid. My job as teacher doesn't allow me to become an ASL champion. Everyone know I like the Final Fantasy streams last day. Very relaxing. Thank you for the 300 bits, Brolim. So yeah, apparently that was game number 1. Since they had been up against each other in the bracket, I think, like, while I was casting Skilless Trigger, I just assumed it was not game 1. But okay then. They probably just took a while to start. So now we have the proper information. It is, in fact, game 2. Now on Royal Blood, bottom left it is Elazer holding that Hellbat attack. And the top right, sending an SCV out, he is uThermal. And he does do 2 Raxes. This is not a 2 Rax, though. He's not sending a second SCV out. Oh, okay. Huh, that's actually... Well, I guess because he made the supply depot close to home. Maybe that actually wasn't mistimed. I found that, you know, if they put the supply depot here, if you send the SCV with the supply depot making SCV, that pretty much, like, times out well, but... Nope, uThermal definitely better than I am. Oh, and he's... Oh, wow. Wow, he's actually 13-13. Holy shit. That is insanely aggressive. And he still fit a gas in there? What? Whoa. I mean, we have 14-14s, I think, fairly often. 13-13 is crazy. I mean, do you even get an orbital with this? Well, you must be able to. You must be able to. I mean, he's getting second gas, so... That shows that it's going to eventually, like, go into the next, you know, part of the game. 3 racks coming up with Reapers. Okay, alright. I guess I have not seen this proxied in a long time, so I just don't know the build. That's crazy. Yeah, so you don't even build any more SCVs. You don't get the orbital. I was seeing the gas, and I was like, well, he must be planning on going into, like, a factory and a starport and stuff, but no, it's for Reapers, right? So, yeah, no, it's very, very, very dedicated. And I have no doubt this is what the build was often when proxy Reapers were popular, but they just haven't been popular in so long. It's commit so much to it as well. So here's the thing. Yes, this is very dedicated. It's very early barracks. It's very proxied. It's 3 barracks, not just 2. It's still... Like, it increases the first go-round of Reaper's chances of snowballing, is what it does, all right? So this could be snowballing already. You know, we have a bunker in the middle. That's going to be very annoying for Elazer to deal with. He can't get a spine crawl up. That's also very annoying. But you can pretty much easily tell when it's not going to snowball, right? Like, you can tell when the Zerg has got a handle on things, and it feels like, as of the last, like, 5 years of StarCraft, basically after Beyond stopped winning with this, Zergs have a handle on this fairly well. The only thing I would say is that some Zergs have forgotten how to deal with this. So, there is that. And the Spine Crawler not hit those SCVs? Well, the SCV stopped repairing, actually, so I don't know if they both made micro problems, or did uThermal not have enough minerals? Or something happened, but... that Spine Crawler is awfully low. Transfuse used on the Queens, too. Second Spine Crawler is here, but now it's going to have to root. It gets blocked by a Reaper. It's going to take so much damage for a root, and now it's just off of creep and a Elazer. Okay, it's starting to mess up a little bit too much. Oh yeah, that Spine Crawler is dead, man. Salvage doesn't go off in the bunker, but I think uThermal's looking. No, this is snowballed. This is officially snowballed, 100%. Once that second Spine Crawler did not root, I think that was the real nail in the coffin, but the first Spine Crawler getting so injured was you know, I don't know. What happens before the last nail in the coffin? It was the second to last nail in the coffin. All right, well, there you have it. Sometimes it does still work. And with it being so insanely aggressive, so insanely all in, that does add a little bit of oomph to it. GG. Tied up 1-1. Top left, it is Elazer. Bottom right, it is uThermal. And speed is down, it's over for Terran. That is often the case against multiple Rax Reapers, but only if you have enough lings. So it wasn't even close to being enough, actually. It's probably like 4 times as many lings to actually stop uThermal from snowballing, because he still would have had the grenades, he still would have been able to hop down and hop back up, and still have a very powerful Reaper count compared to a guy who just lost his queen, so he couldn't inject. So the amount of lings was very, very low. And anyways, yeah, that just... I think if Elazer had... I don't know, actually. I don't know. I'm thinking if he had transfused the Spine Crawler instead of the other queen, that would have been more beneficial. Both tank a decent bit, but with enough Reapers, you know, everything still goes down pretty quickly. But the thing is, the Spine Crawler was in range of the Reapers, and it does, you know, more damage. So that's mostly why I wanted to see the transfuse on the Spine Crawler. It would have gotten a few hits before uThermal got out of the way of it, whereas that queen that got healed was on the low ground. She was going to be off creep between the ramps. She wasn't going to really help out, I think, as much. But then the second Spine Crawler just not rooting, which also goes back to it not being created as fast as Elazer wanted it to be. If it was made faster, it roots with the second Spine Crawler before the second Spine Crawler dies. And again, maybe you can stop that snowball, but... it's tough, but it really does. It's kind of one of those like, well, I don't know. Oh no, this is so obviously one person's favor. Okay, never mind. Like, it's just, you are questioning it the entire time. The snowball happens very quickly. So, no cheese this time around, not yet. uThermal did go for a Hellbat Marauder attack that he cut his losses on very quickly. He just was not even interested in figuring out if the queen kills were enough damage. He just was like, nope, didn't kill the guy, I'm just gonna tap out. And he could definitely do that again. Not the same Hellbat attack, but a similar idea. He is 2-basing it, second gas coming up. uThermal, for a lot of you, right, you know now that he has not been full-time pro gamer for a year at this point, actually. Oh, he's proxy starporting? Yes, okay. And has been instead focusing on content creation. He did participate, he did participate in the professional, European regionals a few times, but then at some point actually just didn't even sign up. He didn't take his invite slot from doing well enough from the previous season. So that was really the most, I guess, determining, like, obvious point of, like, okay, I'm not a pro gamer anymore, but he's still very good. He's still very high leveled. He still has all of the experience as well as just knowledge of how to be a pro gamer and how to win best ofs that he had when he was full time. And he still practices. I mean, he still plays a ton. I mean, practice might not be the right word. And he has even gone to the finals recently at this Open Cup. Certainly looking to do that again. Usually versus a Zerg, as I was saying in the beginning of this best of 3, it'd be quite difficult. If you're just not mechanically as good as your opponent, then you're going to be screwed in this matchup. But uThermal out here to try and prove that not to be true. Hellbat all in into 3 Rax Reaper into Hellion Drop, which unfortunately for him has not been super effective. Starport is getting a tech lab on it. Fusion core is going up not at home, actually. It's going up proxied. But the starport has been found. So yeah, the Hellions are gonna have to stay here and make sure it doesn't get bopped. But it means it's been found, it means the tech lab was seen. If the tech lab is there, it's 9 times out of 10 gonna be a battlecruiser. Maybe you would be a little sus if it's just a Raven, just because the Raven has changed recently. uThermal does some kind of interesting things. Like, it could be a Raven and going into a macro game with a lot of harassment, but a battlecruiser would just be so much more in line, I think, with what, uThermal's been doing so far. Unfortunately, unfortunately for uThermal, Elazer gets his wraparound on the starport, but the Hellion numbers have just continued to increase and boldly go out in the map as well. That's the other thing, is nothing's defending his natural. Which, actually, like, Elazer, I don't really blame him for trying to get that starport. It was getting awfully low, but he probably should have used those lings to just try a run by, see what is there. Now, what is there at the natural is 4 or 5 SCVs. uThermal has to cut SCV production a lot to make that many Hellions consecutively, as well as a battlecruiser. And the amount of supply depots you need for a battlecruiser. That's actually a real kicker that people don't realize. So, this is, again, a very dedicated build. But now it's coming in with Hellbats. Battlecruiser is teleporting in. Hellbats aren't here, though. The Lings are already killing so many of the Hellions before they turn to Hellbats. This medevac's not healing as they should. This is already, I think, mistimed. Medevac's gonna go down to... Battlecruiser already took about more than half health damage. And the Queens... Oh, wow, the number of Queens here, yeah, is way too much. Queens solve all your problems, guys. But actually, this is... If this was more of a surprise, I think this can work 100%. I could see absolutely how this would work. The Hellion drop does a little bit of damage. The Zerg's kicking themselves over the Hellion drop. They don't go searching around for the starport, so they don't realize it's going to be a battlecruiser. Or maybe they do, but they don't realize how dedicated it is, right? That it's... They would have figured out it's proxied because the medevac timing, but they don't realize necessarily that you're cutting SCVs for it, where a proxied starport building a battlecruiser might be a little more of a hint towards that. They don't realize, of course, that you're going into Hellbats, or they just don't have time to think about it. Maybe all of these things could be not exactly obvious, but Elazer could already be thinking about it because of the way that uThermal's played this best of 3, because it is uThermal and not Hero Marine or Clem. But I think what would be ideal for the Terran, first, Zerg has zero idea. Absolutely zero idea. That would be the most ideal. Or second, that they are so befuddled because they're dealing with a Hellion drop, they're dealing with the amount of Hellions that show up afterwards, suddenly a battlecruiser appears, oh god, the Hellions are in the Hellbats, that they don't have everything collected together. They don't make enough Queens. They don't overmake Queens, basically, preparing for this. Or they don't have it all together. It can actually be a huge thing. They're not on top of the attack before it really starts, killing those Hellions before they turn into Hellbats. Like, all of that, change that up, and uThermal could have had a bop. But it is very much not a bop. It is very much already a Lasers game. As soon as... I see these are cool. as soon as that one battle cruiser basically did nothing, I feel like that was already it. Love the SCV pool, but completely ineffective against banelings. GG.